Today we're going to talk about finding your ideal client.
Why is that important?
Why it's everything.
Why?
Because if you know who your ideal client is, you attract the right people. They can learn better from you because they're going to receive the information, because you're going to convey the information better. You're going to enjoy working with them. The whole experience is going to be right for people.
I agree. I actually don't think people are going to listen to that at all, because all they're thinking is, I haven't got enough inquiries coming in.
Yeah.
The people that I'm currently working with are doing my head in.
Yeah.
They want too much from me. They're sucking the life out of me.
They cross my boundaries.
Yeah. Bloody boundaries.
I know.
What else?
They don't do the work. They don't respect me.
Yeah. Did I say not getting enough inquiries?
Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, all of that stuff is exactly what Vicky opened up with. But I bet you listening didn't hear it that way.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, if you're not getting enough inquiries, then, there's a few ways to look at it, isn't it? If you're not getting enough inquiries, your brain could be telling you, oh, okay, I need to do all of this marketing stuff then. I need to be putting messages out there so that people can come to me. I need to be doing paid ads. I need to be doing something to bring in more, and almost focusing solely on the tactics. And yes, that is a big factor of it. However, if you don't know who you're talking to and where they hang out and what your particular person's pain points are, your marketing's going to fall flat anyway.
Yeah. And going back a step further than that is, if you don't know who you are and what your purpose of the business is and what you're trying to achieve, you're not going to know who that ideal client is as the next step. And then you're not going to bring those inquiries in and have that awesome business that you want.
Yeah, yeah. So where does somebody start on this?
I think someone should start with figuring out what it is that they do and why they do it.
Yeah. It's a hard one, that, isn't it?
It's hard because it's almost like that pre-work bit that we go, but that isn't going to help my immediate problem, which is I haven't got enough people in.
Yeah.
And it's this cycle that we go through of going like, but without that step, you're going to keep going round with this. I hate the clients. They're not doing the stuff. They're not going to pay. They're not going to they're not committed. So we can keep going around that cycle forever, or we can stop, breathe, think, what are we actually doing this for? Who are we doing it for?
Yeah.
Look at the bigger picture of why you exist as a dog trainer and where your mindset is about who it is you're bringing on. So if your mindset isn't right in terms of, isn't in the right place for you in terms of like figuring that bit out, that bit needs working on first. So there's lots of layers to this, really.
Yeah, it's really tricky, isn't it? Because you can picture it now, can't you? Like, to try and break that cycle of, let's say, everything feels like it's going to shit. Like,
You're in a
really
place.
bad place. You've got stuff going on personally. Clients, you feel like you're letting your clients down. You feel like your other clients are just taking the piss. Feel like anybody you've brought on to help you with, like helpers and stuff for classes, they're pulling out, they're letting you down, and everything's just, oh my God, I don't know if I can genuinely keep moving forward with this. And then you'll get people throwing advice, don't you? Going like, look after yourself, do you. Forget the clients, like you have to concentrate on yourself. But I understand how people mean every good intention with that, but it's not helpful, is it?
It doesn't help the problem.
It doesn't do anything. And I think when you're in situations like that, the harsh reality, and you know we say it because we love you, the harsh reality is that you have allowed that to happen as the business owner.
We've allowed those clients to take the piss. We've allowed them to break the boundaries, do all the things that we've talked about.
Yeah. We've allowed our external world to impact our internal one. And I get that is really difficult to hear, because if you've got like personal stuff going on, then you're thinking, well, how is that my fault? And it's like, well, yeah, okay, like not everything, but it's how you allow it to affect you. And it's who you lean on for support as and when you need it. It's how long do you struggle before getting help, or are you really quick to identify, right, this is going to be a big problem, I need to do something about it.
And is it your job to deal with all the surrounding problems or the noise that's around you anyway?
Yeah.
Because even though there are family issues and things going on with friends, and you can't do everything. So you have to draw the line at something and go like, if I concentrate on that thing, the rest falls apart.
Yeah.
Is that the right thing to do as well?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe looking for support outside of that and going like, maybe someone else needs to come in and deal with that thing.
Yeah. Well, even look at the stuff we did last year. And I'm saying this at risk of sounding like a little bit of a knob and going like, oh, look, we can do it, which is not my intention in the slightest, because it's not easy, but we had a lot thrown at us last year. Like there was a lot of stuff to deal with. Yeah,
we put it on ourselves though.
We did put it on ourselves, yeah. But even like some of the things where you could argue that out of our control. So I'm thinking with me, when I had that really dark place and like Clay was really struggling and he was going through that 5-year-old development, and then my mum's diagnosis, those two things arguably are, I can't control them. But what I can do, and what I did do, and actually the more I think about it, I owned those situations and got help, like knowing they were going to be problems, if that makes sense. But I wouldn't have done that a few years ago because I wouldn't have known to ask for help. And that's because of all the personal development stuff we've been doing over the years. I knew I could almost, do you know, like you can see it coming, almost as if you're like driving along the road and then all of a sudden you start to see like people putting their hazard lights on or some brake lights and you're aware that something's about to happen. So you take action. It's that type of thing instead of just ploughing into all the cars on the road.
Great analogy.
I know. I'm quite impressed with myself with that. Wasn't planned. That was also a bit loud.
Yeah. Off the cuff.
Yeah. But I'm not going to crash into those cars because I've now got an awareness, because I've been taught and I've had support from mentors of like those driving instructors and mentors of us personally with our life to go, this is going to be a big problem here. Now, obviously I've really struggled with that dementia diagnosis with my mum, really struggled. I'm still struggling, but I'm also coping and living and surviving and thriving in places. And it's knowing when to step into certain roles. And I think this is where it becomes really difficult, doesn't it? Because we are so, as human beings, we are so easily overwhelmed because I think we try and do so many roles at the same time. And it's really difficult to almost compartmentalize them and go, right, for this moment, right here, right now, like we're podcasters.
It's all about priorities as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've talked about this a lot, but it is. Those priorities are going to change every day. So we've talked about your kids are your priority some days. Darren's your priorities other days, your mum and your dad. Like for me, my dogs are a huge thing at the moment because their health isn't great, 2 out of 3. So I'm like, there are some days where I have to really like, you know, emergency vet visits, or I need to make sure I'm home when I should be out and I'm having to cancel things. Like it's always going to change, isn't it? But that doesn't mean that the world's falling apart. It just means for that time, that particular exact point in time, I need to change what I was going to do. But I'll get back to it because I'll put something in place where it means I can get back to it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's almost like we're having to put the foundations in on each of those roles to go, right, you are completely stable in your own right. So actually, if it has to cross over into something else, you're still going to be pretty solid. Yeah. It's only if you then start crossing over far too many of them, it will get a little bit wobbly.
Thin yourself.
Okay.
Spread yourself too thin.
But yeah, it's I suppose it's how do you build those solid foundations then in each of those roles, because that in itself is hard. And this is where, again, like we're always leaning massively on that personal development bit and spending time really looking inwardly.
Do you know, again, though, good end to that sentence, because it's looking inwardly. It's knowing who you are, what your role is in each of those situations and how far that role should go and where that line should draw to get further help in, support, put it on somebody else, whatever needs to happen.
Yeah.
Because if you do try and do all the things, it's going to end in tears. Like we hear back from our clients all the time, or prospective clients or people in our community all the time about, we've got to the point where we're broken. We're on the edge of the cliff. Like it's either make or break. Like I'm teetering on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
How has it got to that point is what we need to ask ourselves, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's that awareness that we all have the power to choose.
And change the situation.
Choose and change. Like it.
Yeah.
So with that then, I think when we're looking at it from running our businesses, it comes back to this thing that we say all the time. How can you detach yourself from your business so that you personally are not the business? However, that doesn't mean you love that business any less. Doesn't mean you love your clients any less. In fact, by detaching, I would argue that business is going to thrive. Your clients are going to thrive. Your clients are no longer going to piss you off because you have detached yourself from that business.
Yeah.
So you can actually give more of yourself.
Yeah.
But in a way that's not going to kill you.
Yeah. And it's that overgiving, but in a way where it works for the business and works for you and not because you are feeling like you have to do it. Like the only way it's going to work is if I stay at somebody's house for 3 hours instead of 1.
Mm-hmm.
But we were actually having a little chat about boundaries in that way of going like, it's actually potentially going to impact somebody if you over deliver.
Yeah.
Because they might have other commitments they need to get to. They might not want to be rude and you're there for like a lot longer than you should be. Or you're overloading information that an hour session is just enough for somebody to kind of receive that information, and anything more than that, you think you're doing the right thing by giving a bit more, could be too much.
Yeah.
So it's like if we have the business only offers this hour session because this is the best thing for that client, it's the best thing for you, and you are the facilitator of that part of how the business runs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where you can sort of blur the lines and keep them separate at the same time.
It's true. Like I would be lying now if I said I still don't do that.
It's hard
with our one-to-one
stop
clients, and actually even in the group, we was having this conversation the other day actually, where in one of our group cohorts we did at some point now, many months ago, we were going through some content and there were loads of questions and the group was really engaged and it was a great conversation. And then I looked at the time and I was like, shit, like these have gone over by about 40 minutes in some cases. And it was already a 90-minute block in some of those cases. I was like, oh, this is not good. But at the time, nobody said anything. I was like, everyone seemed really happy, like everyone was engaged. I'm not happy that I've allowed that to happen, but also, okay, everybody got what they needed out of it, so I'm happy. And then like 6 months later, we're having this conversation and one of those clients actually they stayed on that program and we were having a conversation and she openly admitted that she really struggled when those went over because she was hungry, they were late at night, she'd switched off and actually it kind of dampened the experience. I was like, yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah. We both read it and went, yeah, we totally get it.
Yeah. And I was
That's
like,
our bad.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to own that's on us. We shouldn't have allowed that to happen. And it was that reminder of, because we were talking about how we do it in dog training. Like, I don't know a dog trainer that doesn't do this. Yeah. They do that over delivery and they do that over delivery. But at what cost? And again, I have stayed at clients' houses about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I have.
It's ridiculous in the grand scheme of things, isn't it? It's like you almost tell yourself going, oh, well, like maybe they're retired or they're not working or whatever it is. And they were offering you another cup of tea and all that. And I was like, but you forget, certainly in the UK, it's a very British culture to not kick somebody out.
Yeah.
To not go, right, you've kind of done your time now, off you go.
And you're probably actually going, oh, I could do with getting home now. I could do with like getting ready to go to my next appointment now. I am going to now have to, I've been there where I've gone, I've now only got like 15 minutes to get to somewhere that takes 25 minutes to get to.
Then you're messaging them going, you're going to be late. And then you feel guilty that you're late. So you try and add on the extra 15, 20 minutes there. That still baffles me as well, to be honest. Because I'm like, it shouldn't matter that you've turned up late. You don't add that time onto the end of the session because they've got stuff to do, but we do it.
We presume that it's okay though, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've even done it recently. Like when we're taking the dogs out for the day and we're like, oh, we got there 15 minutes late. We'll drop them back later.
Go back 15 minutes later, yeah.
It's like, well, how do we know they're not going out? Yeah. They need the dogs back.
Yeah. But yeah, and of course, as soon as you set that precedent, people are going to maybe assume that's what always happens. Mm-hmm. And the people it doesn't affect are going to go, oh, they're always going to do an hour and a half because that's what they do. And it's like, no.
Yeah. So it's by detaching yourself and looking at it from that business bit, you almost look at it through a different layer of professionalism, I think. I don't think, I know. Yeah. I'm going to own that a bit more. Yeah. I know full well you will look at it and go, actually. So again, like when we received that feedback about us over giving on that live call, the group one, I could have taken that really personally.
But we knew it was...
But I was like, actually, no.
It was good feedback for us.
It's right. It's like we knew it anyway.
Yeah.
Because the business shouldn't operate like that. Like it's... Everyone's time is so precious. And I think we forget that. I think our brains typically lean in on they've spent money and that's the value. Yeah. We're almost trying to make the money the valuable part.
But would you go to the dentist and expect to be there for...
Yeah, exactly. It's not.
An hour for a checkup.
Time is the valuable bit.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
The outcome and the time is the valuable bit.
I think when it comes to things like the dentist, you realise how they've got all these appointments one after the other and we just know that. And we're like, well, we can't overstep that mark because, you know, whereas do we make that really clear that that's what's happening in our life?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Ooh, here's one I bet no one's doing. So on the same theme of time and thinking actually we need to be more results driven and outcome based and all of that. If you're in a session, like in a dog training session, and I don't know, let's say it's a young dog, or it's just a dog that genuinely like, I can't cope with too much. Like if you work with me for 20 minutes, I am done. Are you ending the session there or are you buffing out the remaining 40 minutes? Because there's nothing else you're going to get out of that dog. And actually the human's happy with what you've done.
Potentially I'd turn to the human and focus on them though.
Yeah. So you'd buff out the 40 minutes because you feel like, I've told you it's going to be an hour. I need to stay here for an hour.
Yeah.
But why? Why do we do that?
I don't know.
Because effectively we're like, right, have you got what you need, human? Yes, I can see what I need to do. Perfect. Okay. Well, let's end it there then. Be that professional. Like again, it's just when you were saying like at the dentist, it's like, well, you've got a 20-minute slot, but I've cleaned your teeth in 5 minutes. So I'm just going to keep you here for the remaining 15.
Do you know, I used to do it with pet visits as well. So very often I would go and feed someone's cat. So the idea is you spend like 30 minutes feeding them, cleaning out litter trays and like giving them a bit of company and fuss if they're around. And often the cat wasn't even there and I'm just sat waiting for that 30 minutes to go by because that's, and I'm sure lots of you that do this.
What if the cat came out at like minute 29 for its first? Would you just do a quick minute first and then go?
Oh yeah, this is the thing though. So I'm sat there waiting for the cat to choose to come back for some more fuss within that 30-minute period because that's what I've said I'll be there for. And in my head, I'm like, I'll be cheating them out of my service if I leave early.
Like I say, like I would not like if the dentist is done in 5 minutes. I'm like, thank you, I'm going. Do not keep me here for another 15. You're gonna do like prolong the teeth cleaning.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just do it again. They're done, but I'll do it again.
That's a really good way of looking at that. Actually, I hadn't really thought about it like that, but yeah, you're right.
Because again, it's that overwhelm of information, isn't it? It's like, well, actually, if you've got what you need out of that, then let's look at the efficiencies and go, right, okay, if I need to add on, and I think actually this is what really factors into it. So that integrity piece, you could then go, well, okay, we said a session was going to be 60 minutes. Or actually, the more I'm thinking about this out loud now, why are we dictating 60 minutes? What happens if that session was 45 then? Pull back 15 minutes. Where's this hour come from? Why does it have to be an hour?
We do that with everything though, don't we? It has to be an hour.
If it's a puppy or something, like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you know full well you are going to get this one specific bit of information over and it's going to be executed really well. This is what really pisses me off about like education, like my whole university bit. I'm 3.5 hours some of these lectures are. I'm like, for what purpose?
Yeah.
Genuinely just don't understand what the purpose is of me being there for 3.5 hours. You could do that in an hour, I'm certain. They're just fluffing time out.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. So, yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a tangent, but also incredibly important because
it's really important.
This is where that overwhelm comes in. This is where that feeling like a failure comes in, because you're constantly playing catch up and you're just, we're not building solid enough foundations in any of these roles. And I think you can't operate that business effectively as well when you don't know who you're bringing into it from that client perspective.
Yeah, and also if we're wanting to be customer centric, that we always talk about, like this is what we are, we're not being customer centric if we're assuming that we can overstep that line and eat into their time of other commitments potentially, or we're not sticking to the time that we've said we'll do it for. So it all leads back to that, really. Yeah.
And how are we positioning that relationship with us as well? Oh, if you've got a problem, just drop me a message, like WhatsApp available. I'm not going to say all the time because we've done that, but it's that positioning bit, isn't it? Of I'm here, drop me that, send me this, do that. Like, you use me. If you need me, use me. And I think the one thing which I think this industry really struggles with is that detachment from, I don't even know if it's a detachment, the more I think about it actually, or if it's a story that we're telling ourselves that they need us. Emphasis on the need.
Yeah, I suppose it's almost like we think that they are thinking about us all the time.
Yep. Yeah.
Because we're thinking about them all the time. And they're really not.
They're not.
Okay, this problem they've got might be a biggie.
I promise you I'm not thinking about my dentist all the time.
No. No, definitely not. Yeah, they're not thinking about you all the time like you're thinking about them.
No, they're busy. They've got stuff to do.
They've got a lot going on in some cases. There's a big, affects their life in a big way. However, they're not just sat there thinking about you and the way that the burden is on you. I'm sure it's not the same in reverse.
Yeah, absolutely not. And, as much as some of these owners are in massive pain and, they've got dogs that are really ruining their lives, with the same breath, it's not affecting their lives in the way that it feels, because I am certain there will be times during that person's day where they are able to function still without the dog. Yes, the dog is a massive impact on their life and that is causing a huge amount of depression. But I'm going to spin it back into like me and my mum's situation, that if I focused on that, okay, I could be a puddle on the floor all day, every day, but I'm still a functioning human being at the end of it. I still get up, still go and make my cup of tea. I still have a laugh with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a catastrophic thing that's happening. And again, for our dog owners, it in some cases, it's a catastrophic thing that's happening with their dogs. Like, it is incredibly difficult for them. But I feel certain enough that it is not consuming every second of every minute of that day.
Yeah. And actually, looking back at my my old dog training business, there were lots of things I didn't do that well, in terms of like, I did spread myself too thinly with all the services I was offering, and I didn't think I was actually, looking back, offering the awesome service I thought I was and all that stuff. But I never ever took someone else's problems home. I was always really good at that. For some reason, I could just, it didn't mean I didn't care any less. Yeah. I absolutely did everything I did for the dogs, and that purpose for me was like, I really want to support dog owners to have these amazing relationships with their dogs and all this kind of stuff. But I never took it home, and I had the ability to be able to detach myself from it. And that's a good thing, because although the other stuff was going on and I wanted to earn more money and I wanted to have more time, at least I wasn't having that emotional kind of burden, because I don't think I'd have carried on if I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this comes back to almost a little bit of that personal development stuff of who are you surrounding yourself with?
Yeah.
So even though then that may not have been a hugely conscious decision to, surround yourself with other people doing PD stuff, but
I didn't go
in those groups.
I wasn't in those Facebook groups. We've had this conversation.
All
the toxicity. The only things I was a part of was when I was with puppy school, there was that little group of people and the APDT bit, which I dipped in and out of it, to be fair. That was it. I wasn't a part of anything else. So all I saw was those things, and I just chose not to be part of anything else. So I think that hugely helped me.
Yeah. It does make a huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're in this position now, then when, again, we've got all this shit going on and we literally don't know where to turn, I'm so stressed out to the point where I'm like, I know something needs to change. And our favourite phrase of like, if nothing changes, nothing will change. Then what is that next logical step for someone to take? Because again, like the helpful advice of, well, just stop and do you. I could never do that. That is A, not in my personality profile at all. But B, if I'm in that state and I'm in panic of, oh God, I really want the business to work, like I still love it, even amongst all of the shit that's going on. But also, like, how am I going to pay my bills? And if I stop, does that mean I've just got to refund everybody with money that I haven't got because do you know what I mean? Like you've made it so close to that breadline of the money that people have paid me has paid my bills. So I actually haven't got anything to refund anybody with anyway. So I've got to push through and serve all these clients.
Yeah.
Like what do you do in that situation?
Yeah. I think a good next step would be think of the clients that you have really enjoyed working with. Think of what that looked like, how that felt for you. What sort of person were they? What sort of situation were they in? And I think if we can look at some sort of a positive from that situation of the dark depths of all the bad stuff, is to go like, where do I actually excel? Who do I actually like? Who receives this information really well when I have done it, and I've come away and I've gone, that's awesome. And I think the work around putting, like, because you can be really specific with we're talking about a client avatar. So you may well have heard this term before and not really understood what it means, but it's figuring out who exactly it is you're talking to, because who you start talking to is going to be who you start to attract. So if you're talking to everyone, you're going to attract everyone, and that everyone are all the bad people that you don't want. So it's like, start getting specific on, you can get as specific as what their name is in your head. You can have this like person, hence the avatar term. How old are they? Where do they live? What do they do in their spare time? Do they have a family? Are they a young couple? Are they an older couple? Is it a substitute for a child and they're looking for a dog? Is it somebody who is looking to get a new puppy? Is it somebody who's got this dog with all these problems? There's so many specific things you could write these down and go like, what do I really want and who do I want?
Yeah. Yeah. So what I take from that is putting myself in that position of, I'm this person now that's at breaking point and it doesn't feel like any turn is a good turn.
Yeah.
Because there's something's going to fall off somewhere. You're barely keeping it all going. So I think if you're in that state, I would take intentional time. If you need to cancel clients and book them back in, be intentional with the time that you've now got back.
Yeah.
Instead of what I have also done in a previous life. If I've cancelled clients like that, I've just either wallowed in self-pity or I've stuck Netflix on. I've not been intentional with my time.
Constructive with that time.
Yeah, almost going, oh, well, I'll see how I feel tomorrow. But I'm not doing anything to try and feel better. I'm not doing anything to move that needle further forward.
Yeah.
So I think if you're in that position, be intentional with that time and do that work.
Yeah.
Because off the back of that, what that will allow you to do is identify exactly who it is that is going to come into your business. Exactly who it is that you're going to allow.
We love this term, be the bouncer of your own nightclub.
Yep.
You should have people that are desperate to come into your world, not the other way around. You shouldn't be the person who looks desperate trying to get people in. It should be the other way around.
Yeah.
So doing this work and getting so clear in your brain of who it is you're wanting to come in, banging on the door, let me in, I really want to come in and work with you. Like, even just that thought, like, imagine just putting yourself in that place and going like, not sure you're right for me, but not in a rude way, in a, like, genuinely, from what I'm seeing and hearing, not sure that we're the right fit, but I know someone else who could be.
Yeah.
That is such a good place to be, because that is going to give respect back to that person.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if you are coming across desperate, and it will, even if you don't think that you are, if you are literally thinking money, I need some money, I need to pay the bills, I need to do the stuff, that will come across. And everybody who we've worked with and has had that mindset, it hasn't worked out. They've either brought someone on where they've regretted it straight away and their gut was telling them not to do it, but they did it anyway. Or they change them, like they'll take someone and then go, actually, it's not right, I'm going to refund them. Yeah.
Or it's just that immediate repellent, and
they
you've
just
got no inquiries.
Choose not to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like, you don't convert anything.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we have that choice to go, hold on, what is the best thing for me to do to move forward? And it feels really counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, hold on, I'm desperate, I'm in a hole, I've got to pay my bills, and you're telling me to turn
say
work
no.
away.
Say no to people.
What? How does that make sense? And then how is me being in this dark place and then doing that work on just finding out who Laura is? I thought of Laura because
my car.
What weird? Like the whole what is it?
It's the avatar. It's the person that controls
the car has a name. I was like,
know.
who's this Laura? And she's like, oh, it's the robot thing. I was like, what?
Yeah, do you know you can ask it to like ring somebody or whatever.
Like a Siri.
Yeah, like a Siri. And it's called, hi, I'm Laura.
Yeah,
I'm your configuration person or whatever it comes up with. I'm like, okay.
Weird.
Okay, anyway. Skoda. It's quite a bit weird.
But yeah, like thinking, okay, right, I've identified now who Laura is. What the fuck? I just don't understand how that's going to be my next step. And I think this is where this is a massive piece to the puzzle.
It's a big jigsaw
that you've got to start doing. And, we would both love to sit here right now and say, do this one thing. Like, this one thing is going to change everything. But we know this with dogs. Like, there's never one thing. You're never really going to be able to give anybody just one thing to do that is going to fix everything. Now, there may be a smaller puzzle piece that will help move the needle. And I think this is the important bit to note. It's that constant journey. It's about making consistent efforts in the right direction so that every day it gets a little bit better.
Yeah. But not one big thing is going to make that difference.
It's never going to do it. It's just not going to happen. Like, we've literally spent the last, 2 weeks pretty much daily looking at our business and going, right, okay, what are these little micro changes we need to make? Nothing massive, micro commitments. Let's do this. We
have had some real epiphany moments over the last week, haven't we?
Huge epiphany moments. Because we've hit pause, we've reflected.
Yeah.
We're not in a financial position to be able to go, oh, let's just pause and reflect. But we know it's an important thing to do.
But look what it's allowed us to do. Look at what it's like being here. We're podcast recording for 2 days and we've stayed overnight. And even just this trip, we've gone, that is something that we would never have come to the conclusion of had we not had this time to just talk about. And all we did was literally sit, have dinner, talk through something and go, oh my God, yeah. That needs to change slightly.
Yep.
not hugely, but and that's why the business should always be evolving and changing. And you should never just get stuck in doing one thing one way, because you have to adapt to the market, you have to adapt to what's happening externally. And when I say externally, I don't mean listen to what everybody else is doing and do the same. There's like that slight difference there, but you have to be aware of what's going on around you and pivot and do the right thing for you, because your situation's going to change daily with your life. Like, look at those situations you've talked about with your stuff that's going on, mine with the dog, like it's going to change. So therefore you have to go, I need to set this up so that it can change if I need it to change. And I've got not a fallback, but I've got something in place whereby I can still keep things going if the worst happens. Or
so I think it's using that avatar work to really identify that who is your business there to serve. Maybe that's another way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Like who is this bit? So again, that detachment bit. It's not me. Who am I here? Like, who do I like working with?
Yeah.
Because yes, there's a bit of that, but I think this is where the lines get a bit blurry and you fall into that horrible grey area, because that's where you could argue, well, I like working with quite a few different people. Like they're all varied. And you immediately think of your existing clients or past clients, don't you? Go, oh, well, I really liked them. And their situation was maybe they were retired, but they were early retirees. And then I really liked those. And then they were a young couple that just got married. And then I really liked those. It's like, hold on, this isn't your avatar work. This is who you are personally connecting with. So do that detachment bit from the business. Look at who the business is there to serve. And I think this is where a lot of you listening will struggle with this, let's say. I think it'll be a challenging bit of work to do because of how general you're operating.
Yeah, we are generally
all of those services.
Generalists.
You're the GPs of the dog world.
General practitioners.
Yeah,
We are.
It is. Well, we're all operating as GPs rather than that specialism.
Referral specialist. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it as well.
Yeah. So I think it's that awareness piece of there's nothing wrong with operating like a GP. Like if that's genuinely what you want to do.
Yeah.
But it's that awareness that, hold on, you will struggle with inquiries. It's not impossible. You will struggle with inquiries. Like you'll have more of those feast and famine months, I'd say, rather than consistent. By operating like a GP, I would also say that you will inevitably end up working with people that you don't want to work with.
Yeah.
Because there's not a high enough or strict enough like screening process, because the doors are open to everybody. You are likely to feel more burnt out because you're now trying to market several different services all at the same time.
And there's a question mark as to whether you'll reach the depth of relationship, knowledge, like sharing of the knowledge, because let's face it again, we CPD like collect in all these different areas.
Yeah. Let's
do a bit of reactivity. Let's do a bit of puppy stuff. Let's do a bit of that. So we're collecting all of this knowledge and we're spreading it thinly again.
Yeah.
And are we really delving into that knowledge bit enough, because we're not practicing doing it enough? Therefore, is the client going to receive the best possible service because of that? So I think that's a factor to think about as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're really passionate about this thing, it should be all about that, surely.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you're really passionate about genuinely wanting to make your business work for you, to give you more freedom, to give you the freedom to not, I think freedom can be taken in loads of different ways. Mm-hmm. And for me, when I say freedom, I think I get to choose when I work.
Yeah.
But it gives me the freedom to play in the business as well.
Yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean freedom of going off in your motorhome and
just
travelling
it's like,
around.
I'm done.
It could be. It could be that.
Yeah. But no, like the freedom to, I like that analogy. I like the freedom to play. I get to play and I get to create and I get to spend more time with clients that creatively pull together a program that I'm like, oh, do you know what? If I'm spending 2.5 hours at a client's house and that's what I enjoy and that's what seemingly they enjoy, I'm just going to put it out there. Like that's a program in itself. Like there's the expectation. The sessions are gone as such, but the session now goes from 60 minutes to 2.5 hours, depending on what that program's designed to do.
Yeah.
So I get to play more and I get the freedom to do it because I'm targeting the right people.
Yeah.
And I can't do that if I'm being a generalist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, for me, the overwhelm comes in, trying to do too many things. I get onto social media and I'm like, I don't even know what to post. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, we've been absolutely guilty of this.
Yeah. I don't know who I'm talking to. I've got a rough idea, like, as a dog owner. Like, yeah, but who? What are their problems? Like, it's just, it all comes down to not just who do you like working with, but who's the business designed for? Yeah, I know. I think I'm going to leave it there on that.
I think so. Good place to end.
Yeah. If you've not heard of our pod classes yet, go and have a little listen. Go and check them out. You can find out more information on k9businessacademy.com. And this is where we get to go into this type of topic, but a lot deeper.
And you walk away with actionable steps to start moving that needle in your business and making the change that you really want to change. Yeah,
little worksheets and stuff. So yeah, if you're at that point in your business now where you're going like, fucking hell, something's got to change, I would strongly encourage you go and check them out.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, guys.